This is Debbie and welcome to Book and Bujo. Today we're going to go through my April TBRopoly. So to start with, how did I do in March? So March isn't quite over with yet. It's getting close. We're at the tail end. We got about a week left when I'm filming this, and I did really good. I basically finished my TBR, so I have 2 books I'm still working on. One of them is under 300 pages. I will probably finish it this week and still have 3 days left of the month. And then I have another one, which is a book for March and April. So I'll read part of it this month and part of it next month. So I am also taking part in 2 readathons in April, and I will actually be doing a separate video for those because otherwise this video would be like an hour and a half long and nobody wants that. It's too long. So I will break those up so they're a little bit shorter, and let's see how I did in March. For roll number 1, I have my handy dandy cheat sheet of my reading journal here. So my first roll was an odd card, and that was to read a physical book, and for that I read So This Is Ever After by F.T. Lukens. I did read that. My second roll was another odd card, and for that it was to read a fantasy, and I read Sorcery by Terry Pratchett, the 5th book in the Discworld series. My third roll was an odd card, and that was to read a YA book, and for that I chose Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare, and I did read that. My fourth roll was an even card, which was a nice break from the 3 odds in a row. And that was to read a big book, which is greater than 500 pages. And for that, I chose Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie, the 2nd book in the First Law trilogy, and I did read that. And my 5th and final roll, I landed on the buzzword space, and that is to read a book from the Buzzwordathon. And this month's word was secret, and for that I read The Open Secret of Ireland, and that is by T.M. Kettle. So if you remember, last month I did get a reward, got to pull a reward card, and it was to swap out a prompt for a read-along book. And I ended up not using this at all in March because I didn't need to, because I was able to get my read-alongs on there. So this does carry over for 2 more months, so I have April and May to use it if I like. And since I did finish my TBR for March as well, I get to pull another rewards card, which I only have 2, so I need to come up with some others. And this one is a free re-roll if I would like to. If I don't like the roll I had, I can re-roll. And that one will be good for April, May, and June, unless I use it first. So if I use it in May, then it's gone, but if I don't, then I'll have it for the next month. So last month, I ended on Buzzwordathon, so that is where I'll be starting for this month. So roll number 1. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. TBR jar, my handy dandy, awesome, tiny little trash can. Cart. Well, that'll be a fun one. I did watch the movie and I really enjoyed it, so we'll see how much better the book is. All right, for roll number 1, I rolled TBR jar from my, let me grab it from my handy dandy little trash can TBR jar, and I pulled Inkheart by Cornelia Funk. And I have actually seen the movie on this one, so I'm excited to read the book and see what the differences are. One cruel night, Maggie's father reads aloud from a book called Inkheart, and an evil ruler escapes the boundaries of fiction and lands in their living room. Suddenly, Maggie is smack in the middle of the kind of adventure she has only read about in books. Maggie must learn to harness the magic that has conjured this nightmare, for only she can change the course of the story that has changed her life forever. I'm interested to see the age of Maggie in the book versus the age of Maggie in the movie. I know in the movies they tend to age them up a bit because it's a little easier to use older actors than younger. So it'll be interesting to see the difference in that. Roll number 2. 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So that is an odd. And we have a reread. Okay, for roll number 2, I rolled an odd card, and that I pulled a reread. And for that, I will be rereading The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Roll number 3. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Another odd. Read a romance. Roll number 3 was an odd card, and that was to read a romance. And I have a couple of romances I am interested in reading, but this one is actually one of my Amazon borrows, so I can sneak an Amazon borrow in there for the month. And I chose The Bennett Women by Eden Apaya-Kubi. Not sure if I said that right. Apologize if I didn't. So this is a spin on Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, where love is a goal, marriage is a distant option, and self-discovery is a sure thing. So I was very excited to see this. I feel like there was some hype on BookTube a while back, like 2021. When did this come out? Yeah, so 2021 when it came out, and I hadn't gotten around to it. So I'm excited to see how this one turns out and see what I think about it. Roll number 4. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Booktuber Rec. So roll number 4, I landed on Booktuber Rec. I will be reading A Master of Jinn by P. Jelly Clark. Again, not sure if I said that right. This is the first book in the Dead Jinn universe. Cairo, 1912. Though Fatima el-Sha'arari is the youngest woman working for the Ministry of Alchemy, Enchantments, and Supernatural Entities, she's certainly not a rookie, especially after preventing the destruction of the universe last summer. Wow. That's an impressive resume right there. So this is the book club pick for the Howling Pack Book Club with the Wild Sasha, and I'm very excited to get into this one. I have heard some great things on BookTube around this book, so I'm excited to finally get in there. And I did get the notice today that it came into my library, so I get to go pick it up this weekend. I'm very excited. Roll number 5. Final roll, unless we get doubles. Oh, got a little crazy on that roll. So we have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Even card. Read a standalone. For roll number 5, it was an even card, and for that, it was to read a standalone. And for that, I chose Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. So I read The Love Hypothesis, and I loved it, and I can't wait to read more of her books. So this one says, Bee lives by a simple code. What would Marie Curie do? If NASA offered her the lead on a neuroengineering project, a literal dream come true. Marie would accept without hesitation. Duh. But the mother of modern physics never had to co-lead with Levi Ward. So I've also heard some good things about this one, and I'm excited to get into it. And this one is actually the group book for Seasonathon from March, and I did get a bingo for that. Very excited, except for the group book in the middle. So this one I will be reading in April, sort of. For the Magical Readathon with G at Book Roast, I am part of the Order of the Crescent, and we came out on top in the last readathon. So that means our reward was we get to start the readathon 3 days early. So I get to actually start it March 29th. So on March 29th, 30th, and 31st, I will be reading Love on the Brain. So it's part of my March readathon for Seasonathon, but it's also part of my April Magical Readathon. So I get a little crossover with that book. So that's exciting. Bonus 6th roll. 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's an even. Trials of Apollo series. So I am actually on the first book, so I will be starting that series. For my 6th roll, I got another even card, and that was to read Trials of Apollo. And I am actually on the first book in the series, so I'm reading the whole Percy Jackson series in kind of chronological order. and I think this was put together by one of Rick Riordan's nephews, I believe it is. So it's kind of fun reading it through that way. So I will be going back and forth between the Magnus Chase series and the Trial of Apollo. So I read Swords of Summer, the first Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard book, and then I will go to The Hidden Oracle, which is the first book in the Trials of Apollo, and then next time I will go to The Hammer of Thor, I believe it is, the second book in the Magnus Chase. Then I'll go back to Trials of Apollo and kind of back and forth, because that's kind of how it is chronologically, and I think that'll be really fun. Pretty much already read the series, except for Magnus Chase and Trials of Apollo, so it was kind of fun to go back through kind of in chronological order. I highly recommend it, especially if you've already read the series. I think it's a great way to go. Well, let's just go for a bonus 7th roll and see what happens. Do have 2 big readathons, so we've got 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Odd card. Read a book made into a movie. So this month, since I have 2 readathons that are fairly large, I'm going to go for 10 rolls. Or maybe we roll the dice, and see. Let's go with my 20-sided dice, see what happens. 3, well. 13. So we're going to go for trying to read 13, do 13 rolls, see what happens. So we're at roll number 7, so this is roll number 8. Let me move some of these out of the way, because they are getting in the way of my dice rolling, and it's getting a little crazy. So technically my TBR is usually just 5 rolls, so I would have ended at Love on the Brain. But since I'm doing 2 very big readathons, I decided to add in some extra rolls, and as you saw, my D20 roll came up with 13 books for this month, and typically that's doable, especially since a lot of the books I choose for the readathons that are big are really short books, or like 50-ish pages for some of the books, or graphic novels, manga, short stories, things that are shorter. So that is why I have some extra rolls this month. Roll number 7 was an odd card, and for that I got read a book that has been made into a movie, so an adaptation. And for that I chose Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. I read this when I was younger, when I was a little kid, and I loved this book, so we'll see how it holds up as an adult. Max, a wild and naughty boy, is sent to bed without a supper by his exhausted mother. In his room, he imagines sailing far away to a land of wild things. Instead of eating him, the wild things make Max their king. I remember loving especially the artwork in this book. I just remember it being so beautiful, and just the cover alone is stunning. Okay, roll number 8. I still rolled it off the plate. All right, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's another odd card, and that is a YouTube pick. Roll number 8 was another odd, and that was a YouTube pick. So this is pretty much like a YouTube favorite. Could be the author, the book, the series, a book that is popular and beloved on BookTube. For this, I chose Pyramids, the 7th book in the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett. Being trained by the Assassin's Guild in Ankh-Morpork did not fit Tepik for the task assigned to him by fate. He inherited the throne of the Desert Kingdom rather earlier than he expected. His father wasn't too happy about it either, but that was only the beginning of his problems. Roll number 9. 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is an even card. That is to listen to an audiobook. Roll number 9 was an even, and that was to read or listen to an audiobook. For this, I will be listening to Midnight Tides, the 5th book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series by Stephen Erickson. After decades of internecine warfare, the tribes of the Tistad Edur have at last united under the warlock king of Heroth. There is peace, but it has been exacted at a terrible price. A pact made with a hidden power whose motives are at best suspect, at worst deadly. I'm really enjoying this series so far. I've already planned for 2024, I'm going to do a reread of Malazan, but I'm not just doing the 10 books by Stephen Erickson. I'm adding, I believe it's Ian Esselman, I believe that's his last name. I'm adding the entire Malazan universe in there, so there's a lot more books than just the core 10. I'm really excited about that, and I'm going to make sure I have the physical book for all of them as well, so I will probably listen to them and read at the same time, because I think that'll help me to really understand and retain everything a lot better than I did this time. So with that in mind, I'm kind of reading through the core 10 just for enjoyment and not for figuring out who everybody is. So I'll have a nice baseline going for when I do reread everything. I will really be able to dig in and understand the characters, who's who, and all of that. So very excited for that one. And that is part of the Malazan Book of the Fallen reread or read along with Shelf Centered, Kaylee's Books, Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and Kay's Hidden Shelf. I will leave their channels below in case you want to check it out. All right, so we got doubles, so now we're going for 14 books. So here is roll number 10. We have 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Another odd. That is to read a sci-fi. Editing Debbie here to say I totally forgot to film my 10th roll, the book that I chose for it. So my 10th roll was an odd, and it was to read a sci-fi, and I chose Divergence Part 1, Into the Machine by E.B. Wolfe. The civilized world has met its bitter end. What remains of humanity has escaped into technological utopias sparsed around the globe. However, the system could accept only so many people and continue to operate at optimal level. Many were forced to live on the fringes of the surrounding wastelands, to hustle and gripe for their undeserving lives under the ground. The machine will continue to keep the Divergence firmly under the boot of the ruling Council of Unity, unless a hero arises. I always like a good sci-fi dystopian, so I'm excited to read this one and see what it is like. Roll number 11 out of 14. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Even card. Nonfiction. Roll number 11 was an even, and for that it was to read a nonfiction. For this I chose Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. This is by Emily and Amelia Nagoski. I believe they are sisters, but I'm not sure. From the picture it almost looks like they could be twins. Not sure though. This groundbreaking book explains why women experience burnout differently than men and provides a simple science-based plan to help women minimize stress, manage emotions, and live a more joyful life. I'm sure by the time I'm finished reading this, I will be thinking, where was this book when I needed it back in 2015 to 2019 when I had a really stressful job, I was getting burnt out from overwork and all of that. Roll 12 of 14. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another even card. Nature on the Cover. Roll number 12 was another even card, and that was Nature on the Cover. For this, I chose The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner. Now, I read The Lost Apothecary last year, and I loved it. I really enjoyed that book. I like that kind of Victorian era as the background and the time period, and just the whole premise around that book was really interesting, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm really looking forward to reading The London Seance Society by her. And this book is part of the Full Moon Book Club with Jan Agustin, and I will leave her channel linked below in case you want to check out all of the future books that she's going to be doing, as well as some of the ones that we've already read. 1873, at an abandoned chateau on the outskirts of Paris, a dark seance is about to take place, led by acclaimed spiritualist Vaudeline Delaire. Known worldwide for her talent in conjuring the spirits of murder victims to ascertain the identities of people who killed them, she is highly sought after by widows and investigators alike. Sounds really interesting. So historical fiction, you get some mystery, a little bit of fantasy in there, mystery thriller, some paranormal. What's not to like? Roll 13 out of 14. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. An odd card. a friend pick. Roll number 13, which should have been our last roll, but we got a double, so we've got one more to go. And this one was an odd card, and that was to read a friend pick. So my friend pick is actually also a read-along book, which is great, and that is The Dragon Reborn, which is the third book in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. I'm very excited. I'm really enjoying the series so far, and we're only 2 books in, and well, we've got 15 more to go? I don't remember how many are in the series, but we're on the third book will be for April and May, so you get 2 months to read each of the books. And this is with Got a Thing for Things for the Wheel of Time read along, and you have a couple other great YouTubers that are part of the read along, like Beck in the Books is one of them, and I believe Covers with Cassidy as well. So very excited for that one. The Dragon Reborn. The leader long prophesied who will save the world, but in the saving destroy it. The savior who will run mad and kill all those dearest to him is on the run from his destiny. Sounds intense. Our 14th and final roll. Or not. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Booktuber wreck. Roll number 14, which should have been our last roll, but alas, we got a double. So 15 books. So one more after this one. Okay, roll number 14 was another Booktuber wreck, and for this I am reading The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. And this is for the Shadowhunter Readathon with Darian Reads and with Love Lisa. So this book is the first book in the Eldest Curses, and we are following Magnus Bane and Alec Lightwood as they try and take a vacation. Sounds like it's going to be interesting. All Magnus Bane wanted was a vacation. A lavish trip across Europe with Alec Lightwood, the Shadowhunter who against all odds is finally his boyfriend. But as soon as the pair settles in Paris, an old friend arrives with news about a demon-worshipping cult called the Crimson Hand that is bent on causing chaos around the world. A cult that was apparently founded by Magnus himself years ago as a joke. Okay, this sounds awesome. I'm very excited to get into this one. Not only do I love Alice and Magnus, but that just sounds hilarious. Of course we got doubles. I knew I was pushing my luck with adding additional rolls. But here we go. 15 of 15 rolls. Final roll. Yes. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's an odd card. Read a book you keep putting off. Okay, the 15th and final book. No more doubles. I got an odd card, and for that is to read a book you keep putting off. So this book, the book that I chose, I didn't keep putting off because I didn't want to read it. I kept putting it off because I want to take my time with it and be able to give a good review for it. So this book was kindly sent to me by the author, and I started it back in November, and I was basically taking chapter by chapter, taking a lot of notes, and I basically got through the first 3 chapters, and then kind of life happened and there was other priorities that kind of took precedence over this one, and so now I'm finally getting back to it, and it will either be one of the first books I read or one of the last books I read, so it depends on how the month goes with all of the readathons and read-alongs and book clubs and everything else. But I do want to have this take precedence, so I will probably start it as one of my first books and then just read it through the entire month and take the whole month to read it while I do some others on the side. So I usually have 3 books going at all times anyway, so I usually have a physical book, an audiobook, and a Kindle book going at the same time, because it just depends on what I'm doing, where I am. So at night I like reading my Kindle books because it's a lot easier to read. You don't have to have a bright light shining on your face or anything like that, disturbing your partner or roommates or whoever else might be with you. And then during the day I like reading my physical book, so usually when I'm eating breakfast and lunch, that's my time to sit and read my physical book. And then audiobooks are for times when I'm food prepping and cleaning and cooking and all of that other stuff where my hands are busy but my brain is not. So that's when I do my audiobooks. My book pick for my last and final roll, my book I've been putting off since November, and that is Quiet Thunder by J.P. Harker. So I want to say a huge thank you for J.P. Harker for letting me have a copy of his book. And from the first couple chapters that I've read already, I'm loving it. It's a lot of fun. It's very interesting. He's done a good job with building out the world and the characters, and I'm excited to get back in there and finish the book. For generations, the Kaduvan tribe has lived as an occupied nation, content to forget their warrior ancestry and live under the Empire's laws in exchange for their protection. For Carrion, a simple farm steward, this is the only world she has ever known. But the savage Sarian tribe have decided to liberate their neighbors from the Empire, whether they like it or not. For Carrion, at least, it seems the days of Kaduvan warriors are not over yet. So I'm very excited to get back into this world and finally find out what happens with Carrion and the rest of the characters in the book. All right, I did get all 3 of my book club books into my TBR, which was great. So Burnout, the J&R Book Club with Jashi Curran, and the London Seance Society with Jen Agaston for the Full Moon Book Club, and A Master of Jinn for the Howling Pack Book Club with the Wild Sasha. So if you want to see all of the books that I chose for my readathons, you will have to check out my Magical Readathon and Realmathon video, and I will leave that linked up in the cards for you and also down below. For my readalongs, I also got, I believe, all of these, or at least most of them, into my TBR as well, so that's great. So the first one is the Shadowhunter read-along, and that's with Darian Reads and with Love Lisa. And that one is The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare. My next read-along is Malazan, Book of the Fallen with Shelf Centered and Kaylee's Books, Kay's Hidden Shelf, and Andrew's Wizardly Reads. And we are reading Midnight Tides, the 5th book in the series. The next read-along is Around the Disc in 800 with Literary Diversions. And I got one of the books on my TBR, but not the other, but these are pretty short, so should be able to get through them. And that is Pyramids and Guards, the 6th and 7th books in the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett. My last read-along book is Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, and this is part of the Cosmere read-along with Elliot Brooks. And that one is the book for March and April, so I have started it in March and I will be finishing it up in April. And I believe that is all my books for my TBR, not counting all the books for my readathons, which again, you'll have to check out that video. Thank you so much for joining me for my TBRopoly game and for my crazy big 15 books this month and my 2 doubles. So this is an experiment. I am actually kind of debating whether I want to continue with 5 rolls or bump it up to 6 rolls each month. I think I may bump it up to 6 rolls. We'll see how it goes after this. February was a pretty low reading month for me overall, but January and March were both really good, and I'm sure part of February's was because we were missing a couple days because it is a shorter month, so that's understandable. But I think I may bump it up to doing 6 books instead of 5, or 6 rolls instead of 5 every month going forward. So kind of excited for that. So thank you again for joining me, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any videos from me. So if you're not sure what to put in the comments, but you want to let me know you were here, so go ahead and put a pair of dice emoji in the comments. And I will catch you next time.